Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to Casually Explained America. I think I've reacted to this channel once, and yeah, I have. It's from this video here, top right, and it was to do with the food of the world. That was the only time I reacted to this channel, and I feel like I got comments of people saying this is a good channel, but then I just didn't follow up with more reactions. But yeah, Casually Explained, just explaining things or countries or whatever, and yeah, this is the one that we're doing now. I hope they got one for the UK, because there's never really these videos for the UK. My notes. I've got a tissue, so I'm doing that. You know what? I don't care. And I don't know. I want to see these sorts of videos for the UK, or not the UK, sorry, England specifically, because that is the country that I'm from. But they never seem to be a thing. But yeah, we're going to check this out. Casually Explained America. Hopefully, you're going to enjoy. Links are in the description to this channel if you want to see some more of this person's channel. If you haven't seen it before, but I'm assuming you already know who it is. And yeah, they're also there for my Patreon too. If you want to see some more of my reactions, links are there. But let's check this out and see America Casually Explained.
Sponsored by ExpressVPN.
Get your money.
Now, America is known as the land of the free and home of the brave, and while land remains very expensive and most millennials and Gen Z are too anxious to answer phone calls, it's still nevertheless a pretty good slogan. One thing that's rarely considered by Americans, however, is that there are other countries in the world besides America. For example, the other day I saw a nice picture on Reddit where someone was like, "Everyone loved my homegrown tomato salad at our wedding reception," and one comment was like, "You shouldn't be having a wedding reception with dozens of people right now. That is completely irresponsible." And it had a bunch of upvotes. Then a couple hours later, the person responded saying, "I live in New Zealand, but I thought you might have liked to see my tomatoes."
Jeez, wasn't New Zealand really lax about his laws to start with? I think that's probably what it's about. Oh,
I'm sorry.
poor person.
And in a time like this, that really made me think, damn, I wish I was married. And while we're all still envious of New Zealand right now, a lot of people particularly criticize America's response to COVID-19 because 500,000 people have died from a half-assed pandemic response. But in my opinion, the number would be much higher than 550,000 if they had not locked down at all. And frankly, given the size of the country, it's remarkable that only 583,000 people have died so far. Now, while many consider America to be the greatest country on Earth, this is mostly only true in terms of nuclear submarines. Nevertheless, America is known for its political democracy. Political democracy, of course, being the belief that if Cyberpunk barely functions on PlayStation, surely it would have worked great on Xbox. It's for this reason one of the most exciting things to absolutely not be a part of is the American political climate. For example, sometimes I go on Twitter to make sure no one has escaped into the real world, and it's always an eye-opening experience, because there are really only two types of people on Twitter. On one side, there are the ones that think Trump is the Lord and Savior of God's flat earth, and on the other side are the people who think that denouncing a bottle of syrup relinquishes them from their original white sin. Some academics have suggested this kind of division could lead to a civil war, but in my opinion, as someone who grew up with Xbox Live and a microphone, it's sounding a lot more like a Halo 3 lobby than Fort Sumter 1860.
Bro, those voice chats were ridiculous, man.
For starters, if there is some type of conflict, it's already a no-brainer who would win. One side collects military-grade firearms as a hobby, and the other side thinks mental illnesses are
Jesus Christ.
badges. Second of all, if you get a kid from California to march to the Deep South, when he sees 3 bedrooms and a yard for $100K, you can be pretty sure he'll be welding trailers, driving a lifted F-150, and banging Joe Exotic real quick. It seems to me if you chop off the two political extremes, basically everyone just wants a good life. But the lives of city-dwelling and rural Americans are so different, of course they're never going to understand each other's perspectives. It's the same story back during the actual Civil War. Even though they were fighting, both the North and the South were ultimately saying the same thing. Black people should be free. Now, one of the craziest things about America is that your drinking age is 21, as opposed to Canada where it's 18 or 19, or Europe when it's whenever you have the balls. Or Latin America where laws are just things that police make up when they see a tourist. Now, a lot of people think it's ridiculous that you have to be 21 to buy alcohol, but personally, I think it makes a lot of sense. If my neighbor was some 18-year-old kid, and I saw him in the yard dual-wielding akimbo P90s and obliterating a paper cutout of his ex-girlfriend taped to a sandbag, I'd think to myself, well, good thing he isn't drunk. So, as a Canadian, in my opinion, one of the best things about America is that most people are unusually friendly. Like here in Canada, we mind our own business at all times, unless we minorly inconvenience someone, in which case we apologize profusely for ruining their lives. But in the States, if you stand next to someone for literally any reason, that is permission for them to tell you all about their uninteresting life. So one of my most American experiences was when I went to Disney World and I was waiting in a fairly long line for a churro, and there must have been at least 3 or 4 mobility scooters in front of me with some rather hefty individuals riding them around. And while that makes sense because it's Florida, the part that got me was when another 300-pound dude in a scooter just cut in front of me and was like, "A lot of traffic today." And I was just thinking, traffic? Sir, this is a churro line. And then as I was still processing what was happening, a lady about the same size wheels up behind him with a cone full of churros sticking out of her purse. She lightly rear ends his scooter like a bumper car, and he's like, "Oh, hey, honey," as he takes a churro and
That is the most innocent interaction I've ever heard of.
says to me, "Well, you have a good night," tips his Miami Dolphins hat, and rolls away hand in hand with his wife to watch the fireworks over the Disney castle and truly live the American dream. So anyway, that's my argument against universal health care. Now, let's say you want to get out of America, but you can't because there's a wall. Instead, you can use ExpressVPN to reroute.
Oh, it's an ad. God damn, I thought that was a short video. This is a really short video. The Disneyland story sounds crazy, but as both an American and someone who went to Disneyland, that sounds completely possible. That black people should be free joke. Yeah, I was like, oh god. I knew what he was doing. As a Latin American, I can confirm the laws are made that way. Black people should be free. As a black person, I'm ashamed of how long that joke took me to understand. As a man that lives in New Zealand, I take my tomatoes seriously. So, is it what I'm thinking? Wait, let me go to it.
Black people should be free.
Is it just because the South obviously didn't think that?
Now, one of the crazy...
I don't want it to go over my head. I mean, I think it's pretty much as basic as that. It's just not what they said, pretty much. But
war. Even though they were fighting, both the North and the South were ultimately saying the same thing. Black people should be free.
I don't even know now. Oh, free as in emancipation versus free as if you don't have to pay them anything. Oh my god. Oh my god. Fucking hell. Okay, now I understand it. Jeez. Okay, hopefully, anyway, I mean, I'm sure some of you understood it anyway. God damn, that is brutal. That is brutal. It's already no-brainer who would win. One side collects military-grade firearms as a hobby. The other thinks mental illnesses are poke badges. And then with the little edit as well, because you see that sort of stuff on Twitter all the time. Then like putting it all on their bio as if it's like, look at me, I'm so different. Why is no one talking about the part when he was mentioning the COVID deaths? Oh, I don't know. I don't want to talk about COVID ever. It's one of those things that I want to forget about. How did he manage to insult no one and everyone at the same time? If Twitter disappeared today, tomorrow would be a better day. Yeah, probably. I mean, Twitter is a brutal place, man. But I didn't realize how sarcastic this channel would be. I thought it was going to be like talking about it explained, but it was just memeing on the US. I mean, fair enough. People probably going to get offended by that, but it is what it is. The game's a game. But yeah, hopefully you found this funny and you didn't get too offended. And until next time, like, subscribe.